The whole premise of the Safe Neighborhoods program, the foundation is built on individual and household preparedness. Unit 6 covers these topics. In addressing personal, individual, and household preparedness, it's better to take a stepwise approach. And to do that, the 3 steps are to make a plan, to build a kit, and to be informed. Step 1, to make a plan. Well, to make a plan, you need to have meeting and rally points determined. You need to have an evacuation plan. You need to have figured out ways to be able to communicate. And then in lack of the ability to communicate, you need to make sure that everyone knows what to do if you can't communicate, as well as having an out-of-area contact. You also need to make note of any special needs within your family, and then practice and review and update your plan at least twice a year. One of the things to always remember when you're making your family plan, especially when you're looking at the earthquake scenario, is to take advantage of the safe and well linking of the program. Write that into your family plan. It would also be a good idea, if possible, you can go ahead and download a copy of the paper family safe and well registration form to put in your family plan. Step 2 is building a kit. You need basic supplies: water, food, medications, clothing. The other things that you need to consider, though, are special needs supplies. What sort of medications might you need? Do you have pets that you need pet supplies for? How many kits should you have? How many people are in your family? You need to have one 96-hour kit for every individual in your family, and that includes your pets. How many days should your kit last for? As stated earlier, 96 hours is the minimum standard for what we're asking people to prepare for the 7.0 earthquake in the Salt Lake Valley. So as you consider the fact that you're not going to be able to turn on the tap and have running water anywhere in the valley, having water in your 96-hour kit is very important. And when you stop to consider the fact that water weighs roughly 8 pounds per gallon, when you're thinking about your emergency kit being mobile, water weighs roughly 8 pounds per gallon, 4 gallons, that's 32 pounds just in water alone. So I recommend that equally as important to having water is to have a way to filter water or purify water in a mobile situation. One of the other considerations you may have as far as medical needs or lack of electricity, if you have, say, you have to have a breathing machine where you need oxygen and it has to be powered by electricity, technology has come a long way with solar packs and solar cells and power cells that can be recharged that will last a significant amount of time. These are some of the things that you need to think about your specific condition with your family members and maybe even your own conditions. So please think about some of the things that you may add to your 96-hour kit, such as solar chargers, power cells that can be charged ahead of time that will hold the charge for an extended period of time, if you have some of those situations where you have supplies that require power when none's available. One of the things that you might consider in your 96-hour kit where your sanitation supplies are concerned, when you think about Hurricane Katrina and the level of devastation, the time of year, there's no water, there's no electricity. Sanitation was very important because you think about being in that situation with the weather being what it is and being in the middle of a disaster where you don't have supplies, and then add on top of that having some sort of illness like, heaven forbid, dysentery, cholera, the potential to be exposed to hepatitis. Sanitation is highly important because being in a disaster is bad enough without being critically ill in the same situation. One of the other sanitation issues that we have to think about is the fact that there's not going to be any potable water, which means no water running from the faucet. But the other thing you need to remember is there's not going to be any functioning sewer system, so people won't be able to flush toilets. Considering that, you need to think about what you're going to do for your family for a place to go to the restroom. A lot of people, they make kits that use a 5-gallon bucket with a toilet seat on them, or you can use a camp toilet. Whatever you use, just consider the fact that you're going to have a place when you eat, drink, food, what goes in must come out. You have to have a place to use the restroom, and you have to have a place to safely store that so that it's not a health hazard for you and your family and those around you. Step 3, be informed. Make sure that you have relevant and accurate information on potential hazards in your area that could affect you and your family. Learn some basic safety skills like drop, cover, hold on for an earthquake, or get out, stay out, call 911 in case of a building fire. These are some of the simple things that you can remember to help protect you and your family and be more informed. Also, you might consider learning life-saving skills such as CPR and first aid. One of the other things that you can be informed are to download apps such as the assortment of Red Cross apps that are available to download, as well as any other apps that are emergency related. The thing to remember is the more information that you gather in being prepared on the front end, the better off you'll be when a disaster happens. One of the most important things that people need to remember about the earthquake scenario here in the Salt Lake Valley is that responders are going to start responding immediately. However, with the numbers of injured, trapped, that are going to need to be responded to, it's just a numbers game. There aren't going to be enough responders to respond to everyone that needs to be responded to immediately. It takes essentially 4 responders for every 1 person that needs to be responded to. So when you're looking at it from that situation, that is why it's so important that community members and neighborhoods become involved in preparing themselves to handle themselves for at least that first 4 days after the incident. Additional ways to be prepared are to take classes that are given locally, such as the Community Emergency Response Team or the CERT class, where you learn to do basic skills such as basic fire extinguishment, basic search and rescue, basic medical treatment and triage. You can take classes for the Red Cross, where you learn things about how to put together and manage a shelter. Or you can take classes through the Medical Reserve Corps to get more in-depth medical training. And one of the other critical components is communication. You can get licensed through taking local classes to become licensed as an amateur radio operator. Amateur radio, or more commonly known as ham radio, is one of those critical components in that communications are going to be compromised in the Salt Lake Valley after an earthquake. And one of the primary ways that we're going to be able to communicate with those neighborhood hubs or the elementary schools is through amateur radio. So taking an amateur radio class and becoming licensed and learning how to use those, you could be a critical key component in that communication effort.